she's been looking pretty good, I might say. Good maple syrup covered beaver.
Oh, hey there, children. Oh, we got a good show of Fade Black for you today, eh? Ryan, why don't you tell them what we got?
Oh yeah, okay, totally. This week on the show, we review Barney's version and Quebec film La Moitié, gauche to frigo. Also, we stopped by the Fantasia Film Fest press conference to see what they got in store for us this week.
Tabarnak! Hey, on est au Québec ici, tu vas donc apprendre le français. C'est frigo, hostie. C'est quoi cette petite chandail-là des Maple Leafs? Ça n'a pas de bon sens. Chris, go, Habs, go!
Man, go Leafs,
go! Go Leafs,
go!
go,
Leafs, go,
hey.
Go, Habs!
Go Jets, go! Go Jets, go! Go Jets, go! Go Jets, go!
Ferme donc ta gueule, Winnipeg. Pas de bon sens.
I love Paul Gross.
I'm here at the Society for Arts and Technology, where the upcoming 15th Fantasia Film Festival is screening over 3 hours of trailers. There are hundreds of people here to watch because it is that time of year again when Concordia University shows some of the best sci-fi, fantasy, and horror movies. As you might be able to hear, it's very loud, so let's get started taking a look.
Is she dead?
Yeah, she snuffed it.
I certainly hope so.
It's got everything. Sex. Murder.
You alright?
We're talking about the
ごく普通のその少年は1200年の時を超える救いの御子となるために
どうして戦うの
Must be punished ruthlessly. This king must be stopped.
Are there any men willing to fight?
I have a few men I can count on.
3, 2, 1, Please, connect the other devices as well. Excellent. That will engage the device.
Look, Akeley, I'm not falling for some spectacular parlor trick with a radio.
Nor do we expect you to, Mr. Wilmot. Soon Mr. Akeley and I will leave here on an incredible journey.
Tamago, Nintama Nantaro desu.
一生懸命勉強して一流の忍者になるんだぞ。
先生、ちょっと手伝って。先生、導火線に点火ってこんな風に？
今日も忍たまたちはエリート忍者を目指して猛勉強中。
忍術はあくまで美しく、
When a
series of mysterious murders threaten the balance of power, he will be pardoned to embark on a manhunt that will forever change the course of history.
Well, the festivities are barely underway. There's still over 2 hours to go. We've already seen some amazing movies, and I know my wallet's going to be taking a beating this year. For Fade to Black, I'm Thomas O'Connor.
Okay, I am Alex Moffat for Fade to Black and CUTV, and we are here with Mr. the one and only Mitch Davis from Fantasia Film Festival. Mitch, how are you doing?
I am pretty good.
Okay, Mitch. Good.
Excellent. It's a festival
it's amazing.
for people to be doing good.
You must be very, very tired right now. So are we.
Tired.
Okay. Tell us a bit about this year's fest, just in general. What is new? What is different this year? It's the 15th anniversary. You must be doing it's special.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What's new?
Highlights. Highlights.
Gotcha. Okay. Well. Okay. It's our 15th anniversary, which is very, very, very surreal and fantastic. Like I've been telling people for the last little bit, when the fest first began, genre films weren't quite as popular internationally as they're. I mean, they've always been popular, but in terms of an event that could be dedicated to them in North America, there were really none. Nothing like this.
They're becoming more popular in Canada as well, with stuff like
Canada.
Hobo with a Shotgun and stuff like that.
Oh, that's in terms of institutional filmmaking. That's government supported, which is amazing. I mean, Hobo with a Shotgun is produced by the producer of The Red Violin.
Oh.
When you think about that, that's a sign of a changing world. And that guy is actually super cool, but in terms of what you can usually make within government funding, definitely things are changing back. In the 1970s, it was quite a different thing. Actually, that is a good segue into one of the things we're doing this year. This is our 50th anniversary. We figured we'd want to go back a little bit and salute the forefathers of Canadian genre cinema. Usually very easy to book. If it's a U.S. company controlling the film, very easy to book. A Canadian company, so I was like, ooh, first we're like, is it ours? Half the time. And then the other half of the time, it's just that, there's so many people in the company that have to sign off on anything. The U.S. side loves doing promo screenings and doing way advanced screenings before a film will open. Retreat, which is the world premiere, Sony's putting this movie out in 2012. Okay. And they're letting us do the world premiere of it that far in advance. And that's because Sony US, and they're fantastically open-minded. But when you deal with some of the Canadian companies, they're just like, oh, we don't know, we need more time. That's the best one. We need more time.
Big problem in Canada.
Sometimes there's great companies here, but the problem is that, there's too many people that have to make a decision, that have to sign off on a decision. And it's much easier to say no than to say yeah, and then 4 months later, if the film tanks when it comes out theatrically, somebody might show up and be like, who approved this? Just trying to find any reason to explain why something didn't perform to the level that they thought it might have.
Okay.
About actual films that we're playing.
More about the festival. We were saying that genre film has really developed over the years in Montreal.
Been there, in terms of an audience.
I think the festival definitely helped a lot with that, and the audience is given to the festival, and the festival has definitely given back.
For sure. But you know what? From 1997 on, the fest began in '96. So I started programming here in '97, and right from the beginning at '97, we started to do international films. The first year was a panorama of Asian cinema specifically. The minute we started to do non-Asian cinema, or Occidental, expand beyond that, we're bringing in really, really eccentric films, like very low budget, amazing films, but unless you were reading the right fanzines, you never would have heard of them. And this is back when we were at the Imperial, and we would sell at the Imperial on the first show, which was weird. It was brilliant. It was the most inspirational thing in the world.
Bigger and bigger as well as the.
Oh yeah, but the thing is that in Quebec, audiences are specifically open-minded, to a degree, it's much more than the rest of Canada.
Thank you very much, Mitch, for.
No problem. It's a pleasure.
And we'll probably see you during the fest for sure.
Certainly a wild night. Look, there's a gentleman with an eye patch.
Asian.
Yeah. Asian and European.
This is Fade to Black, and this is Fantasia.
Yeah! Okay, today on the show we are going to be looking at Barney's version. It's actually probably the most high-profile movie we've ever looked at on the show. We're getting our Dustin Hoffman on today.
And our Paul Giamatti.
I know. Gotta love some Paul Giamatti.
Of course.
It's the movie based on the novel by Mordecai Richler, who I will always remember for Jacob Tutu.
Oh, true. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Screw everything else.
Yeah.
I'm all about the Jacob Tutu.
People love this novel, though.
Yeah, it's very popular, very well regarded. It's about how do I put this? Very sad man who makes some bad life decisions.
Yeah, and sort of them reflecting
Yeah.
on his flaws back
Yeah.
whenever he was through 3 relationships.
Yeah, basically it starts out he's gotten a girl pregnant and is marrying her, but she's kind of a bitch. Then he goes back to his home in Montreal and marries another bitch. And then at his meeting to bitch number 2, meets the love of his life. And what's kind of interesting is the whole thing is told as a flashback, basically, which sort of is indicated by the title, Barney's Version. And the thing I found funny about that is that I found myself doubting how much of this I could trust, because right at the beginning, it's a version.
Right.
And you're not sure how much of it is, like, how much of this is slanted by his memories, which we also learn we can't quite trust towards the end.
Especially, I don't know if we're allowed to give this away.
Spoilers?
Spoiler? Do you think it's too much of a spoiler?
Maybe a little.
Okay. Well, then we'll save it. But anyways.
You'll see when you watch it.
Yeah.
You bastard son of a bitch! This is all your fault!
My fault?
Yeah, this is your fault!
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, wow. My wife and my best friend. Good heavens.
I took him over a little tray of food because I was worried about him.
Uh-huh.
And he was all trembling and sweaty and he'd soaked through his sheets. So I lay down beside him to try and keep him warm. And I don't know how he got my robe off.
No, it's a mystery. It must have been some kind of voodoo magic or something. Wasn't that covered by your master's degree?
But yeah, for various reasons, we learn we can't entirely trust his memories. So it throws the whole thing in an interesting sort of light when you start to think, yeah, I don't know, how much of this is real? How much of this can I actually trust? But yeah, it does have some really strong acting. Also, Dustin Hoffman and Paul Giamatti, Rosamund Pike. A lot of big names in this, and they all turn out a hell of a performance, I think.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think personally Dustin Hoffman stole every scene he was in.
Yeah, agreed.
He was dangerously underused,
Yeah.
but very, very, very strong performances from him. And then, of course, Giamatti's in every frame of the movie. So it's a really interesting avenue for him to like explore his acting range, because he gets to be at his craziest, his most reserved, to everywhere in between. So it's a really interesting performance. Golden Globe winning performance, we should mention, from Giamatti, which is deserved in my opinion.
I think a Golden Globe should have been given to his rug as well.
Yeah, no kidding.
He had an amazing wig on through this whole movie.
How about Burlesque, though?
Yeah, okay, that's true. He had a pretty good one there, but yeah, that was a rug.
But also, you mentioned that the film, a lot of it is set in Montreal, which is interesting to note, being a Montreal show here.
Yeah.
What I liked, it was interesting to see him drink at the same spot I drank at Grumpy's Bar
Nice.
with Dustin Hoffman. It was cool, but I really wanted them to embrace their Canadiana maybe a little bit more. Mordecai Richler is Canadian. Paul Giamatti is not. A lot of the people in the movie are not.
Yeah.
Canadian director, no less, but I mean, he's passionate about hockey. He drinks a lot, but I just didn't feel like they could have made it more authentically Canadian than it was. They didn't push far enough, I thought.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting, too, because it does have a kind of, not murder mystery element to it, but some bad stuff happens. And I always felt that was sort of dropped as a plot point. Like, at the beginning of the movie, he has an altercation with a detective about some bad stuff that happened earlier on in his life. And then you see the bad stuff happen, and it's this huge, big event. And then it just sort of gets forgotten afterwards. Like, it gets picked up a little, but then you're like, well, where was that going? Like, what happened there? I
agree. I don't think, I mean, which is true. I don't think it was as necessary to even add it at all, because we do have 130 odd minutes running time.
Yeah, it's not a short movie.
It's not a short movie, and you could tell. So, I mean, I think there could have been a little bit of editing going on here or there to remove a few things, because, like, it is adapted from a novel, and I don't know if this entirely makes sense, but it felt very novelistic.
Yeah, it did.
And not very cinematic in how the film was paced. There were some dull moments, to say the least, I'd say.
Yeah.
As it went from start to beginning, we didn't really feel a huge arc taking place.
Yeah, it didn't really end. It's one of those movies that doesn't end so much as just stops.
Yeah. And I mean, I think personally the final act in the film whenever the relationship with Rosamund Pike begins, some of the strongest moments in the film take place.
Yeah. Well, he has a great chemistry with her.
Oh, it's unbelievable,
Absolutely
and
fabulous.
she's beautiful as ever in the movie. And there's some really painfully beautiful moments that are shared between the two that really won me over, I would say, by the end of it. Like you have to stick with this movie. It's not one that's gonna grab you and enthrall you right from the opening moments. But I think it's worth it to stick along with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Giamatti's character, as I said, he makes a lot of bad decisions, and there were times in the movie where I was just like, dude, what were you thinking? No, bad idea. Bad. But then by the end, I did kind of get engrossed in the character a little bit and really got into it. So by the end, I was definitely enjoying myself. It was just a bit of a slow pickup.
Right, like we do not like by nature, we don't like Giamatti's character. He's not a likable guy by any standards.
No, definitely not.
He's going back and reflecting on his flaws, which are fairly
Numerous.
gaping.
Yeah.
But like you said, by the end, we do somehow, we evoke pathos on him, and we do feel for him and sort of root for him by the end, which I think shows a strong direction as well to like pick it up that way.
Well, it takes a good director to show you like a guy you hate and then make you like him.
Of course, yeah, it's not an easy task, and I mean, obviously, Giamatti's performance puts the cherry on top for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So overall, you'd recommend this one?
Overall, on the merits mostly of the performances, which everyone in this movie is pretty much a delight to watch. So almost that would carry it over for me to say, yeah, I would say definitely pick up Barney's version.
Yep, I think we're on the same page. Go out, find this one. It's worth it.
Hello and welcome back. This week we were originally going to review the new Quebec film Starbuck, but there's an embargo on all reviews until the film is released. So we're going to be talking about Philippe Falardeau's debut feature film La Moitié gauche du frigo from the year 2000. The film is about an unemployed engineer. It's kind of like a faux documentary about an unemployed engineer who's trying to find a job, and his roommate is a filmmaker, and he's following him around and on his quest to find a job, documenting it as he travels and goes to job interviews and whatnot. So Ethan, what did you think of the film?
Well, as with many other mockumentaries, there's an attempt kind of at comedy and drama with this, and I think the dramatic element of it is a lot more successful. There's this line early in the movie where I believe the filmmaker, he's asking his subject about when this will end, and the lead character, he says, "It'll end when I die." And I thought it was kind of like, it gave a good indication of kind of the film's undercurrent of bitterness, because it's about someone who's unemployed. And seeing this, you mentioned it came out 11 years ago, and obviously recession, at least in the United States right now for the past 2 years, has been a big topic. But seeing something like that in not long ago, but kind of, it's interesting seeing that, thinking of that as a Canadian issue in a way.
It's a very relevant film, even now. I think it's funny that you talk about that scene where he says, "When I die," because the actual premise is, we'll end the movie when I find a job, and then he's like, "Well, I'm never going to find a job."
L'électroacoustique, l'acoustique architecte.
It's very interesting. I find it's very like character driven. It's very like socially relevant in that way, and those are usually more visible in Quebec cinema than in a lot of American films or Canadian films. I think Quebec films are very politically inclined or socially inclined, and it's very you can see it in this film.
But as I mentioned, there is an attempt at comedy, so there still is an attempt to kind of...
I feel it's not fully a mockumentary, like, say, Spinal Tap, where it's just, like, full out. Even at first, you might even not know that it's a fake documentary. It's played very straight for the beginning. But then you have, like, silly scenes where, he goes to a job interview and he's eating a lot of carrots, so he's all orange. And they're like, have you been on vacation? Like, you have a tan or something. So there's a lot of like very like subtle humor, not as just out there as some other mockumentaries.
Yeah, and with that, I don't know, the comedic element of it, again, you say it's subtle, but it's definitely there, and I felt it towards maybe the middle half of the film, the middle point. It was kind of starting to spin its wheels a little, I found. But again, it's still the kind of the general topic of it kept me interested, and kind of how there's this tension between the filmmaker and his subject that really brings up a lot of interesting areas.
Yeah, about the halfway point, or maybe a bit further in, he goes to a job interview, and the camera crew is not allowed in, but they leave a microphone in there, and the interviewers are saying, why do you have this camera crew around you? It's definitely not helping you with your search. Like that, it might be turning off a lot of the potential employers. So there's definitely that tension there that he might not. The engineer is helping his friend with his film, but the other way around is not true.
And it's interesting, too, watching, because in the beginning of the movie, he's watching television, and John Chrétien is on screen as Prime Minister. And it's so interesting thinking about now, Stephen Harper, obviously, is a very controversial Prime Minister, and thinking that it's not like he brought all these issues with him, Harper. These things have always been plaguing Canada.
Yeah, for sure. Or plaguing everyone, for that sake. They reference Michael Moore, and I feel like there was a bit of Michael Moore elements to it. The filmmaker character is he's very politically inclined. He's very, like, his friend will go to a job interview for a big corporation, and he's going to like try to guilt trip him into not doing the interview, even though like it's the only job he has. So that's another way they definitely like there's that conflict between the two of them.
It's interesting though, thinking of this as a satire or even kind of embrace of Michael Moore, because this was again 2000. A few years before Bowling for Columbine, which I think would say is his big mainstream breakthrough. He had a few other big projects before that, but kind of before he became such a kind of topic in the media, such a frequent topic. So even if that is the case, then this movie was definitely onto something, I'd say.
Yeah, it's definitely forward thinking. What else did I want to talk about? The name of the movie is called The Left-Hand Side of the Fridge. Because they're roommates, right? And they have their split in the fridge. And you see, I think it's the beginning of the film, one of them has, because the guy still has money, so he has more food on his side of the fridge, and near the end, the other one's kind of has more food on the other side of the fridge. So that's kind of like the evolution of the story. One's starting to be more successful, and it's hurting the other one. So as roommates, very difficult to you would know, as roommates, it's very difficult.
Don't split the fridge.
to balance that life together. There's some other interesting elements, like a girlfriend character that is an artist, and
yeah, I think that character kind of because when she first showed up, I thought that would be her only scene in the film, and then she shows up again, and that kind of reveals the movie is very structured.
And she grabs the camera at that point, which reveals the filmmaker character, because he's behind the camera until that point. And that's when things start changing, and you start seeing the big picture.
Yeah, so that's definitely a very interesting dynamic in the movie, and I'm glad, again, like I said how I thought elements of it were kind of getting dry towards the middle half, or second half, my bad, but again, it still was at least kind of coming up with things to keep it interesting, I still found in other ways.
I agree, and the end is just, it's not positive, it's not negative, it just is, and I thought it was very interesting how they tackled that.
Yeah, and one last thing, this has to be brought up. It may sound like a very shallow, surface level thing, but the protagonist in this film, and I'm not lying to you, has no eyebrows.
He's a very good actor, though. I thought he was a really, really good in the role. The eyebrows. Okay, would you recommend the film? I would. I definitely would.
Yeah, I think I would. I think it's a good snapshot of Canada at a certain time.
It hits close to home. Even for me right now, I will have a shitty job, and it's hard to find a job. So it definitely, I think everyone can relate to this kind of film. So check it out.
DVD releases! Yeah!
Hey, I'm here with the solo DVD picks for the week because my co-hosts haven't seen anything else. But first off, I have coming out on Criterion Blu-ray is Mike Leigh's Naked. This 1993 film documents a man named Johnny who at the beginning of the film commits a rape and then kind of runs away from it. And it's very much about Britain's response to Margaret Thatcherism and how a nation of even intelligent people can be led down the wrong path. And it features an amazing performance by David Thewlis, so you can check that out. Next is Uncle Boonmi, who can recall his past lives, some Thai filmmaker, A Pichet Pong Weerasthakul. I did it. This is kind of a film dealing with, it has a strong magical realism element, and it's really strange and really atmospheric, but also very funny and humane. But I definitely check out the film. He made 2 films prior to that, Tropical Malady first. It has a few of the same characters, and it'll give you kind of an indication of what you're in for. So you can check out both those films on July 12th at your local video store.
Cheers, gorgé.
Cheers.
Gorgé. Cheers.
Well, that wraps up another sad and alienating episode of Fade to Black. Join us next week when we talk about movies and stuff.
Go Leafs, go.
Hey, ferme ta gueule, toi, tabarnak.
There, go Leafs, go.
Guys, can't we just agree on the CFL?
Hey, and I noticed the camera. Oh, hello there. Oh boy, we got a special treat for you today, boys and girls, on Fade to Black. Ryan, why don't you tell them what we're doing?
Well,
okay, yeah, well, here's the thing. Apparently, Canadians converted to Scottish or Irish.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Yeah.
Let's go. Go.
Yeah. You're looking at me.
Okay.
Hockey?
Oh, was I supposed to be there?
You have one line.
Where do I sit? In front of my beer,
No, you were fine. It was just get fucking up.
No, once I talk about Habs, like
yeah, well, I was pre-hunting. Yeah.
Beers. Go.
My Canadian was terrible in that one.
Then he whispers.
I love Paul Gross.
You don't even hear it.
I love Paul Gross.
We have to talk about maple syrup. I was saying maple leaves.
Maple syrup.
And beavers.
Beavers, Maple Leafs and Beavers. Ever have those?
It's going to take me a couple tries to get that down without fucking up, but whatever.
No.